All right, everyone. Welcome back to Actual Intelligence, where we look at how AI and crypto are actually being adopted around the world. Today, we're going to look in particular into the Asian region, which is super exciting. Asia, from my perspective, we talk a lot about Asia, but we don't really understand that specific region, especially when it comes to AI and blockchain. So I guess the big question for today is pretty simple. Why is Asia moving so fast in AI and blockchain, and what is actually driving it? There's a lot to unpack. We're going to get some key insights from our guest today, Alex. Alex, thank you so much for joining. Would you like to give our listeners a brief rundown on who you are, what you're working on, and that kind of context?
Sure. Thank you. So yeah, it's really honored to be with you guys and talk about my experience and what I know about the space, in particular Web3, crypto, and AI. I was originally from China mainland, and I learned Japanese as my bachelor degree, and then jumped into an exchange program to Japan. I made some awesome friends, and started my career in Hong Kong as a tax consultant, helping clients filling tax returns and doing some consulting work. It was by then I grew this interest of data, so that's why I moved to London to continue my study in data science, and that's what got me into Web3, where I launched my data science career with a crypto exchange in London. And then it was this perfect timing of NFT plus metaverse plus COVID. Yeah, it was really magic timing when I started this project with my high school mate. And we managed to build up this project from 0 to 1 and successfully exited 2 years ago. And now I'm in Japan, continuing my project and other endeavors in the space. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Amazing. That's fantastic. So now you've moved away totally from the tax sphere, if you will, and now fully immersed into crypto and the Web3 world.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the compliance and risk management mentality is going to haunting me forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing, man. It sounds like you've been very busy and immersed yourself fully. So now you're based in Japan. What is the Web3 world like over there? I look at it from my point of view, being in Europe, it's an emerging sector. It's still very much a gray space. There's a lot of people who are not too sure as to how to navigate it, how to use it. But that's Europe. So what about Japan in particular? What is the vibe over there?
Great question. So before I moved here last year, I actually did some offline events with my previous project. I did it in Osaka and Tokyo with local partner projects. And the atmosphere was what actually attracted me to Japan. So I really love the vibe that projects are having here, and the government is supportive enough. Previous prime minister said that it is going to build Japan into this super hub of Web3 blockchain stuff. We're not seeing so much development with the current latest prime minister, but I think Japan typically is not easily affected by the prime ministers, but by, let's say, those old money groups like Sony, Mitsubishi, those old money groups, families. And in this environment, I think they really have this license or compliance-oriented way of carrying out everything. Maybe you guys have already been to Japan a couple of times and you know what I'm talking about. But speaking of Web3 or AI, what they've been doing is to, let's say, for crypto exchange, you need to have a license to operate legally. But to acquire that license is really costly and involving some intricate relationships with the government. So overall, I would say the vibe is welcoming for projects, for founders, for VCs even. But if you are operating in crypto exchange or you're doing something that highly related to money, monetary, financial activities, then it's just like maybe in Europe, because yeah, in Europe you guys have MiCA, right? And in US you have a Genius Act and other regulations. Yeah. So I think I find it really interesting, and that's why I moved here.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah, I think, like you say, the frameworks across the world are making, Web3, AI, blockchain more accessible slowly compared to what it was 5 years ago. It's a very slow game, and we're yet to see that real growth and a general adoption and acceptance worldwide. But from the research that we've been doing, it seems like Asia in specific is definitely trying to take the reins and become that sort of main hub, which is really interesting. I actually saw a stat that Asia actually accounts for the majority of global crypto users and transaction share. Asia hosts over 60% of the global crypto population, which is massive, right? Obviously, Asia's huge, but I think it goes hand in hand.
I think the topic of today is really interesting to talk about Asia's environment and the whole vibe in AI and future of AI and Web3. I just looked up on Google that Asia's current population is over 4.8 billion people. So that's approximately 60% of the world's total population. So if we take that into account, it's not so surprising that Asia is contributing to other elements of the what you just mentioned, the crypto adoption rate or other crypto developer, those kind of statistics. Yeah, and it's a funny thing that when I was in UK and I noticed this notion that usually when we are, say, in other Asian or maybe Europe or other countries, when people are referring to people from China, Japan, and Korea, they would say, oh, those guys are Asian. But when I was in UK, the notion was that Asian refers to people from, say, like India, Pakistan, those type of nations and people from those regions. And for us, we were universally referred to as Chinese. Even if you're Korean, even if you're Japanese, people will call you a Chinese. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of racial stereotyping in the UK, unfortunately. But what you just mentioned there about China actually is, I'm really interested in China and the Web3 adoption and what is going on over there. We've seen over the past, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, China are saying, yeah, we're going to adopt crypto and blockchain and Web3, etc. And then they change their mind, and then they say, no, we don't want it. We're not going to make it legal. We're going to make it all these kind of other things. But what is the general stance on Web3 in China? I know you left there when you were younger, but what is the vibe there?
Yeah, so China is really big. If we are talking about the size, population, just second to India last year. And there's a lot of layers or dimension that we need to look at individually. Let's say geographically, the north part of China is usually more related to government, to the more bureaucratic. And for people from the south, they are more money-driven, economy-driven. So that's one thing. And for the overall I think the younger generation, let's talk about age. The younger generation is more crypto, I wouldn't say crypto driven, but they know something is going on in other countries. And let's say in Hong Kong, just a few kilometers from the mainland China, things are really different there in Hong Kong because Hong Kong is treated as an experiment or test bed, experimenting a special area. And where you have these legalized stablecoin and these stablecoin sandbox. The recent news is that the first bank, Standard Chartered, is partnering with Animoca Brands, the very famous Hong Kong multi-dimension media giant, and they form a joint venture called Anchored Point. So, yeah, people are definitely trying out new things, but not in the mainland China. That's what I was seeing. And lastly, I think the regulators, they know why stablecoin is the hottest topic of the year because of the US intervention of the Genius Act plays a huge part in this. So China doesn't want to lose the game, so to speak. So I think it's really complicated topic, but people who are watching the space is going to watch the space, and people already trying out build their own products or projects are doing so using some sort of ways to achieve that. Yeah.
Interesting. You just referenced stablecoins there. It's a huge part of Asia and Web3 in specific. Stablecoins are a really big player over there. What is your experience with sort of the general adoption of stablecoins in let's say Japan specifically? Is it widely and commonly used?
In Japan, the stable coin, if the most popular stable coin is of course still USDT and USDC, but I think the Japanese acceptance of this kind of stable coin versus the traditional financial way or financial currency, the fiat currency, is still relatively low comparing to other regions like Turkey or maybe India, the CIS community, and Latin America, Africa. Those regions are really have a really high adoption rate of stablecoin because of the local fiat currency is not so stable. So that's why, by definition, stablecoin is what they need. And also the second thing I see with the Japanese adoption of stablecoin is that they prefer having their own JPY, Japanese yen-based stablecoin, which is called JPYC. They just issued a JPYC, I think, 2 weeks ago, and the Japanese government and the other projects and related institutions is going to push it. But on a global scale, I think USDT, USDC is still the way to go. Yeah, we're going to see more changes in the space in Asia and in Japan, of course.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I just want to jump in a little bit because I also heard in news that Japan just launched their Japanese yen stablecoin just like
Yeah.
a while ago. It looks like the government's really having a push on it, and they really want to, like, there's a lot of news covered, like how much they've published, how much they've launched, and it looks like there's a hype and a trend around it. But because we live like pretty far away from the center of Japan, so I don't really know what's the narrative on that. Are people really using it, or is just like still a post expo kind of thing that people still trying to adopt it, and there's some pushback because, like you said earlier, that the USDT, USDC is still the main thing in the market. But my question is that, do people actually using Japanese yen now? Like, what's the current state?
I guess you are also living in Hokkaido, right?
Yeah, I'm Kay, by the way.
Okay, nice to meet you, Ted. Yeah,
Nice
great
to
question.
meet you.
Yeah, because I think it's just like any other nation. Like in Europe, you have the euro-based stablecoin, but I don't think the adoption rate is really high. This is one major thing with stablecoin. It's still related to our Web2 world, let's say. And USD is still the main currency, so that's reasonable. People are still using USD-based stablecoin in Web3. But I think things are going to change. The one thing is that USDT, or why the US government is pushing so hard on stablecoin, especially USD-based stablecoin, is because it's packed with not just the US dollars, but also the issuing of such stablecoin requires the issuer to purchase some kind of US debt or related financial instruments to back its value, which also provides stability to the country, to the treasury of this country. That's the same or similar with Japanese yen or JPYC, which is also required to be issued with underlying Japanese national debt. So I think the government has enough reason to push it, and relevant bodies or institutions are going to push it. But at the end of the day, it's the people who decides whether we are going to spend it or use it on a daily basis. And I think there's still a long way to go for JPYC and many other related stable coins packed with their local currencies like US dollars and other currencies.
Yeah, when I heard the news that they launched the Japanese yen stablecoin, I thought like they would actually make it into some kind of currency that you can actually use to do grocery and stuff. I I heard that they have this app they use at Osaka Expo that
Mhm.
you can use it to purchase stuff. And it seems like the Japanese yen had become like one of the main payment method on the app. So I was just wondering, are you actually able to use it? Because that would be a great news for like whoever lives in Japan as a Web3 person that you are actually able to use yen to purchase stuff. But is it coming true or still in the experimental phase?
Yeah, that's quite interesting what you just said. The JPYC, I think, is still very immature. However, we also have the news saying that Binance Japan is launching this money linkage service with PayPay. And if anyone has been to Japan, or if you're living in Japan, you must have heard of PayPay, the number one popular payment app in Japan. And Binance traditionally has built up such a great infrastructure or relations with local governments and companies. So this kind of joint force between Binance Japan and PayPay is actually what I see as the most feasible next step for the Japanese stablecoin payment infrastructure or service. So if this kind of joint action involves JPYC, then I think it's going to be quickly adopted. Otherwise, yeah, I still think that major cryptocurrency changes or other major government bodies is needed for JPYC to become more popular.
So, Alex, how would that work? Would it work in a way in which PayPay would then be integrated into the Binance wallet, and then, or vice versa, and then you could just make purchases and transactions essentially using PayPay, which is then connected to the Binance wallet? Would that be right? Is that the idea behind it?
I think as I read the news, it's just said you can now purchase crypto assets using funds deposited from PayPay money. And people can top up their PayPay balance with the proceeds from selling crypto assets as PayPay money. So I don't think it's Binance integrating PayPay money. It looks like the other way around. So if you have PayPay and you have PayPay points, you can now use it to fund your crypto asset purchases. So basically, using the points as a payment method inside the PayPay app. So that's what I see from the news.
Interesting. That's
So it means that you can use PayPay to buy crypto, but not the other way around.
Using crypto to buy fiat? You mean off-ramp?
Because you need to top up PayPay. Usually you will connect to your actual Japanese local bank account. And do you use PayPay to purchase crypto on Binance? Or you use some sort of vice versa that you can use crypto directly to top up PayPay?
I actually am not. I haven't used this service yet, but I think it's both deposit and withdrawal. But I need to take a further look into it. Yeah.
nice. And then, Alex, what I wanted to know as well was, from your experience, what's different about the talent base in Asia from like a builder perspective, a developer perspective? In your experience, you started off in Asia, went to the UK for a little while, decided to come back. What in your perspective, what are the builders doing? What are the developers and the creators? What are they doing in essence of, are they continuing to to stay working in Asia, or are they looking to go and work for other sort of more Western companies? Like, what is the general consensus and vibe there?
Yeah, that's a quite interesting question. And I think when we talk about developers, we need to consider from not the Web 2, Web 3 perspective, but from a more general perspective, is that usually when I was working or am working with developers, they are not, that's usually when we are not talking about those blockchain developers, we're talking about those back end and front end and full stack developers. It doesn't matter if you are working with a Web3 or Web2 project. I mean, there is difference with the blockchain elements involved, but yeah, generally speaking, developers scenario in Asia and in Western countries are very different. And I think the strength of Asian engineers is their technological, I would say, grit, GRIT grit, or their pursuit of engineering, their pursuit of engineering perfection is what I think a major advantage over the engineers in other parts of the world. And secondly, the cost. You must admit that people working in, let's say, China mainland, their pay is not comparative to people working in the States. So that's a major thing. But I still want to mention that Western projects tend to build more infrastructure like or tools like projects, whereas Asian developers tend to focus more on the utilities on top of those layers, layer ones, layer twos, or on these ecosystems. And it's the same for me as well. My previous project involved the development of a GameFi and NFT elements. Those are all utilities instead of infrastructure. And my current project is a bit different. But it's still involved with a lot of the vendors already built on those on-off ramp services and the, let's say, BNB chain and the Ethereum blockchain. So I think that's the three major differences I see with developers.
Yeah, that's interesting. You just referenced the BNB, which a lot would consider a sort of fairly Asian chain, right? It's a fairly sort of Chinese oriented chain, along with Tron, which is headed by Justin Sun, right? I've seen in particular over the past sort of 3-4 months, BNB particularly having its moment to shine, right? And I think Tron is probably going to see some of that as well. What is your opinion and perspective on being from specifically what I would maybe consider more Asian orientated chains?
The BNB chain itself, I think it's more suitable to put it in the category of crypto exchange chain instead of Asian chain. But yeah, we can still say a lot of the crypto exchanges are based in Asia or has an Asian origin with them. So I think that's still valid way to say that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I just because obviously with CZ and the other sort of core members of BNB, I was very interested as to what they were building and what was going on over there. But then one of the last questions we have for you, Alex, is what does the next sort of year to 2 years look like for AI and blockchain in Asia? What do you foresee happening?
I think that, long story short, I think the major development is still going to happen in the United States because the AI giants, whether be it OpenAI, Anthropic, and the traditional internet giants, Google, X, and the others, they still have the most advanced foundation models, and they have this huge capital to allow them to purchase these computing powers and to recruit talents from not just Asia, but all over the world. And although this is a quite sensitive topic, China is competing with the United States, the frontiers of AI and other advanced technologies. But I still see that according to current situation, US is still going to lead, whereas there's going to be some application utility advancement coming from China or coming from Asia. That's my take.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the US is going to lead, but I think Asia and China in particular are going to have a lot of ground to catch up on. It's going to be very interesting to see how the next couple of years advance developers. It's going to be an interesting story to watch unfold. Any other questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we let Alex go, Alejandro, Zane, Kenny.
Yeah.
Oh, go for it, sorry. Oh, okay. Both said the same thing. That's funny. Yeah, dude, I was just gonna say, do you want to also talk about what, like, the current project you're working on? Anything you want to say on that? I think Leo's also part of it, right? The current app you're working on, or rather the current platform that you guys are working on building?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're building this new thing. People have wallets, right? And people in Web3, all of us have wallets, but not so much for people still in Web2 or people from less developed countries where they still facing this traditional banking system disadvantages. And many, last I checked, is 1.4 billion people on Earth still doesn't have access to banks. So that's what we are trying to solve, to help guys working remotely, working as freelancers, as AI agencies going to take everyone's job. But still people are using AI to get a skill up and find some job on Fiverr or other freelance platforms. But the main thing that we're trying to solve is actually to helping these people not accessible to traditional banks to get their own wallet, which is self-custody, it's non-custodial, and collect payment by simply issuing an invoice and collect payments in seconds. And you can get stablecoin when whatever the other parties decide to pay. The other party can pay in crypto, in fiat, and you can still get a stablecoin. That's really what we're doing in Africa, in Latin America, and we are working with the largest freelance community in Africa to widen the adoption of our platform. We are going to announce a big fundraising news next week, so please stay tuned. Thank you.
Nice. I like the teaser. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that you basically meant that it's like a swapping platform that the one party can pay with some other currency, but the freelancer can still get paid with stablecoin. Is that how it works?
Yes, exactly. And this type of method, we actually call it switch. It's swap plus bridge. So you can pay in BNB chain, you can pay from Base, you can pay from whatever chain, and the receiver can still get the stable coin he needed or she needed.
Amazing. I would love to use that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really easy. And we have this reward system where you can collect points by finishing those onboarding tasks and referring your friends and family to try use our product. And these points may be eligible for future airdrops. So that's another teaser.
Nice, man. And where can the listeners find you? Like, where's the best way to follow the project's journey? Is it Twitter, I assume?
Yeah, we are on X, Twitter, and the handle name is allscale.io. And by all scale, we want to scale up small businesses and super individuals.
I love that. All scale. Great name as well. Make sure to follow their journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right.
Awesome, guys. Any last words before we wrap up?
No, all good. Thanks for coming on, Alex. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's super honored to be here. And it's amazing to see that actual intelligence is having talks with a lot of people in the industry. And I do hope that your program or podcast can make waves in the space. And I'm looking forward to it.
That's very kind. Thank you so much, man. And we look forward to follow All Scale's journey and catch up very soon, I hope.
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Alex. That was a lot of fun. Alex shared a lot of information and knowledge and perspective about Asia in general. Yeah, there's a lot to take home, a lot that I learned, and I hope everybody learned as well. We will have our next space on Friday. We're just finalizing the topic with a couple of guests. We'll have that put out on Twitter ASAP, and we make sure to be better, a lot better in promoting our future spaces and letting everybody know ahead of time. So yes, we'll see all you guys again on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.